Hey, everybody, and welcome to another great day on the Jump Podcast. Now, this is your first time. Where have you been this whole time? I'm talking about jumping, not jump up and down. I'm talking about jumping to greatness. Now, my next guest is going to help you get to that next level. I bring you interesting guests like you and me. They've done interesting stuff, but we want to know how did they do it and how did they get there? So, without further ado, let's go. Chad, where you at?
How we doing?
What's going on, sir?
Oh, not too much. Appreciate you having me on the show.
I appreciate you taking the time, man. People don't understand what we go through just to get people on our podcast, and links don't work. This don't work. But listen, you're here. We got to make it happen because you got a story that I think my guests want to know and they can help them out. But before we get there, born and raised, where you from?
Michigan. Yep. Born and raised.
There you go. Starting off as a young youth, what'd you want to become?
It's a fantastic question. So growing up Midwest Michigan, the typical play out is go to college for 4 years, get a degree in engineering or finance, work for GM or Ford. In the height of your career, you might make 40, 50, 60 grand. You might meet a lady who settle down with, and eventually one day at the top of your career, you might buy a boat and a house. And that's the life I was destined to be.
Okay.
However, at a very young age, I started working at a very affluent country club, and that really showed me the other side of life. That the who's and the whats, they don't work for people. They own and operate things. And that was a life-changing, pivotal moment for me.
They always say, if you're the smartest guy in your circle, get out of your circle.
Yes, sir.
So
yes, sir.
when you went to this life-changing spot, who did you meet that changed your life from that spot?
Yeah, I met quite an eclectic group of gentlemen, and showed me, for better or for worse, the life on the other side. And really, the reality was I was at working the bar, and this guy,
Okay.
was sitting there hanging out with his buddies, and they wanted to keep drinking. He had to go home because his wife was going to tan his hide because he didn't get the landscaping done in time, right? And so I remember him hearing that, saying that. I said, "Man, you only live a block or two away, right?" I said, "Yep." I said, "Let me come by and check it out. I bet you me and a couple guys can get that taken care of for you." Right. And I go over, quote the job. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I wanted to
Yeah.
make a couple $1,000 because I wanted to buy something for myself or whatever. And ended up finding a couple friends, paying them $20 an hour. And that started my first company. Right. So, and from there, I was, seeing so many different walks of life on each side of the equation, where that would be people who are living successful, very, very fulfilled lives, happy in their rights of their companies, their families, their health. And then on the other side, guys with all the money in the world drinking themselves into a hole and have very, very broken homes, hearts, and all of the alike. So I saw both sides, and I chose exactly where I wanted to go.
So this is your first job. You don't know what the
Yep.
dingling you're doing. You're just a bunch of guys, and you go, "This is an opportunity." So you took the
Exactly.
opportunity and you jumped. But come on, tell us the pitfalls. What happened midway? What did you do? Because it couldn't have been all gravy on that one.
It wasn't, because the reality was I was, 17 years old when I first did this for the very, very first time. And at that point, you don't really have much knowledge. You don't have any experience. You don't understand how to build processes. You don't understand how to lead a team. You don't understand customer acquisition. You don't understand price margins. You don't understand, front end sales, back end ascensions. You don't understand all of these things. So that company never grew outside of myself. Right. It was essentially just me going around on a job here and there with a couple guys. And, that was a 6-figure business. But I was working my butt off in the trenches, doing the work, not running the big company. Right.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't understand that part. That what you just said. That they're like, "Oh, I'm an entrepreneur." A true entrepreneur, after a while, can step out of the business and make the business make you money.
Absolutely.
And you found that out early. So what did you do?
I kept rocking it, man. I did that for about 3 years. And I went off to college, and I didn't really care to take the business with me at that point. So then I just moved into another hustle. And basically anybody on college campus who had an iPad, iPhone, any laptop or electronic that they wanted to sell, I was sitting there waiting with cash. And then I would go arbitrage those electronics, flip them on eBay. And that was my second 6-figure business.
Okay.
And so it was just another hustle, it was just another job that I owned. And however, it taught me so much from where I am today, because there's two different examples of companies that never outgrew myself. And then sitting here today, I'm very, very perspicacious and pensive on my opportunity vehicles, very, very aware of what I get involved in based on the merit of those previous experiences.
So you pick and
shaped
choose.
and molded me.
You pick and choose. You look for it. Yeah, money's great, but if it's not something that you're good in, or it's a longevity, is the money worth it at the end?
Exactly. Yeah. And not even just necessarily the money up. Like, a lot of people look at the money up front, how much money they can make today. And, look, I'm 30, I still, it depends on who you talk to, but you talk to a lot of 20 and 30-year-olds, they're not really thinking about MRR. They're not thinking about an exit strategy. They're not thinking about any of these components that take you from, you might make 250 grand a year in your business, but you don't eat if you only eat what you can kill, you don't have any monthly recurring revenue. You don't have any exit strategy. You don't have any back end plan for when you're 50, 60 years old.
There's something you said, and you mentioned it like 3-4 times in that little segment there. Exit strategy. That's
Yeah.
key. You're absolutely right. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, when I first opened up my company, I didn't think about that. I thought about, how can I get a car? How can I get on a trip? How can I look good in front of the women? You know what I mean? This is what we want to showcase ourselves. But at the end of the day, what am I leaving back, and how do I get out, and what's my exit strategy for longevity of life? When did you find yours?
Over the last couple of years, just moving. And here's the honest truth. Even if you love your business and you don't want to exit, if you build a company that is exitable, meaning somebody genuinely wants to acquire your company, that company is going to run much more efficiently with and without you, because nobody's going to acquire a business that is 100% reliant upon you. So what does that look like? Building a team, having KPIs, having systems, having processes, having a management team, right? All these components that go into a company that allow you to either A, only work maybe 4, 5, 6 hours a week in that company, or B, leave that company for 6 months and still have it procuring its revenue at or above your current projections with you in the business, or C, give you a 4, 5, 6x multiplier on your exit. Whatever's going to fill and suit your needs, desires, and goals, building a company that is sellable is something that is so valuable across all the pathways. And it's going to make your life a lot better, simply enough.
So I like that. So to all my listeners right there, the goal is, at the end of the day, get into action, find something you're good at, move forward. But at the end of the day, exit strategy. And if you love the company, is your company sellable? Because at the end of the day, why would somebody want to buy your company? What do they see in it that it can live longevity? And these are the things that I think are great advice that people don't really stop and think about when they open up a company. They don't write it all down and put it all out and say, okay, in 7 years, my company should be about this point. How did you see your company, and how do you make sure that that's there at that point?
Well, it depends on the company, and 'cause I have multiple businesses, so it depends on the company, and it depends on the seasons of its growth, right? So personally, I feel like there's 2 pitfalls. One, entrepreneur A has no intention of, building a company that is sellable. It's just them. They own their job, right? They're not building the processes out. Entrepreneur B thinks it's exitable long before it actually is. And I see this one quite often, more often than not. The entrepreneur thinks, oh, I don't really have to be in the company anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They have no financial control and reporting. They just completely overlook a lot of the components. They don't have everything in place so that they can remove themselves. They don't have those tiers and those tranches of components, right? So I see both as a really a common pitfall. For me, it starts day one. If I look at an opportunity vehicle, it has to be high ticket. It
Okay.
has to have MRR, and it
Mm-hmm.
has to be something I have experience in my wheelhouse so I can build it to sell starting day one. So those
Okay.
are my 3 core components when I look at an opportunity vehicle.
Let's jump back on that last one you said. it's something that I have to have knowledge on. I feel like a
Yeah.
lot of people see something great and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's a great business." And I'm like, "But you've never done that before. You have no knowledge about that." "Yeah, but it's making money. We should buy it." Explain
Right.
how people just want to jump into stuff without having at least some knowledge about the industry.
Yeah, I see that all the time. I mean, it's just the typical shiny object syndrome, right? You have person A who's like, "Oh, I'm doing this thing. I'm making 6 figures a month," and then you have your buddy down the street. He's like, "Dude, I'm doing 250,000 a month." Right? Right? We're painting signs on people's lawns. I'm doing 250,000 a month. You're like, "Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I'm gonna switch what I'm doing over here. I'm gonna go check
Mhm.
this out instead." And it's just this amateur bias because the grass is always greener on the other side until you get to the other side. And then you
Right.
go to that business that's doing 250,000 a month and you go back to your buddy and you say, "Dude, you didn't tell me about this. You didn't tell me about the HOA. You didn't tell me about ordinances. You didn't tell me about chemicals. You didn't tell me about the insurance and liability that I have to go through." You're like, he's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that. But
Yeah.
we're doing a
Yeah.
250,000 a month. Well, what are you netting?" Oh yeah, we're only doing like 5 grand. Right? Like, so there's this insane place of bias that people fall into, and they just chase and chase and chase and chase, and it's a trap. And I blame
Totally.
social media. I blame social media for that.
Okay, let's talk about that because not everything that's shiny is gold, right?
No, and really, I just blame the people that portray their highlight reel all day, every day, twice on Sundays, and they can never be vulnerable and honest. Dude, there's crap everywhere. I put out
Yeah.
fires every day,
Yep.
right? Like, and so, I blame that really. And then also, truthfully, I also blame just society in general of the extraordinary amount of individuals who want the end result, but they don't want the steps along the way to get to the end result.
Please say that one more time.
The overwhelming majority of individuals who want the end result, but they don't want to take all the little steps that lead them to the end result. This is just a
It
society of entitled, fulfilled, and lazy individuals who think success is owed to them. And trust me, you got to pay your dues, baby. You got to pay your dues every day, not just
uh,
when you feel like it.
I always tell everybody the podcast is called Jump Success is Waiting, but I didn't say jump success is right there. You know what I
Yep.
mean? It takes a while. You got to go in it, do the grind, take your steps, meet connecting people, meet great people like yourself on this podcast. This is why I bring everybody there so they can hear your struggles, what you've gone through. Give my audience one thing that you've done and then it just didn't work out, but you learned from it.
Yeah, so I failed my first business at 21. I failed my second business at 23. That one left me penniless. That one put me in a really, really dark hole of my life, and I spent the next 4 years digging myself out of that tranche. So much so that when I was building my next company, like I said, I had no money. I was literally parking cars as a valet during the day, working on my company at night, and working 70 hours a week. I let my health sacrifice, my relationships got sacrificed, and all I did for 4 years was dig myself out of that tranche. And I can't even begin to tell you the amount of times, the amount of nights I spent there wondering if this was ever going to work out, wondering if I should just quit and go get a job. It's more than I can count, right?
But
And so you
why?
fight those demons and push through them, um, in hopes of getting out the better side. And if you know you're going to, that you were born to do something different, you eventually will. The only person who loses is the one who quits.
Yes.
Right. So if you can extrapolate out the amount of duration, and anyone can be successful in 10 years if they're willing and able to delay their gratification of success.
Oh
Right?
man, I like
That's why the overnight success exists, because the majority of the guys who get there had to delay it for so long that nobody saw them. They were nobody. They weren't driving a nice car with a fancy watch, flexing on Instagram in the club. They weren't.
I
Right.
like
So then
that.
they pop up out of nowhere and are massively successful. Why? Because they delayed their gratification of success for 10 years. And
Man,
everybody wants it in 3 months.
yes, that was I like how you said that. Delay your gratification. just delay it. You know, you want that, just delay it and be successful. It will come at the end. But don't be
Yeah.
too hungry. Don't be jumping at it when it's not there yet. Delay it until, oh man, I like that. Okay, I'm letting you know right now, it's live. I'm stealing that one.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reality is too, like everyone's variation of success looks very, very different.
Yes.
And that's okay.
Yes.
So
because what is success to you might be not success to somebody else. You know what I mean?
exactly.
Success to me is having a roof over my head, a great family, can go on vacations with my kids, enjoying life. I'm good with that. Some people want more, some people want less, but it's what you consider success is to yourself. So great point. Great point. All right, let's have some fun, my friend. Let's go. It's now time for rapid fire. My friend, I'm going to put 2 minutes on the clock. I'm going to fire some questions at you. Tell me what comes to your head. You can elaborate, but remember, you only got 2 minutes on the clock. But here's the funny thing, though. You get to choose your own questions. You want questions A, B, C, or D?
I'll go B.
You go B. All right, 2 minutes starts on the clock when I ask you the first question. What is something simple that makes you smile?
A smile from somebody, from another human being.
What is currently crushing you right now and you want to conquer it?
Distractions.
What did you learn recently?
Life is short. Smile often.
What was your most favorite person in the world?
My most incredible lady. She's the most amazing person in the world.
There you go. Do you remember your first kiss?
I don't.
What makes you feel nervous?
Shoot. I don't know. Failing.
Technology. If you could change what technology that you like now that you wish you had and change today?
Make Game Boys great again. Those
That's
things
old
were
school.
so cool.
Yeah, that's old school. I like that. Past or present, if you can follow somebody for 24 hours, who would you follow?
Alex Hermosi.
All right. And is social media is there? What is your social media and how can we find you?
It is at Chad Wittfeldt.
There we go. And you made it with 30 seconds left on the clock, my friend. So I'm going to give you 2 more bonus questions before we go. Sunset or sunrise?
Sunset.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
And
Dark chocolate.
And the last big one, dogs or cats?
Dogs for sure, man. I might get some hate from this dude, but I don't trust a man who prefers cats over dogs, truthfully.
Love it. All right, so let's go back to the old school. And you mentioned a Game Boy, and I'm like, okay, I like this guy's old school thinking. Let's go back. Do you think that business now is going too fast compared to how we did business years ago?
Well, that's a great question. I can't really say what it was like years ago, because I was just a hobbyist at 17, so it's kind of jaded. However, what I can say is the way that the world works, right? We live in this global economy of attention. What doesn't matter what business you have, what offer you have, make more money, get healthier, have better relationships. We live in an economy of global attention. And I think that poise is such an incredible opportunity for us, because it allows us to grow our companies and grow our offers and all of the alike worldwide. It doesn't matter if it's from a customer facing standpoint or your product fulfillment or your sales team, et cetera. We live in a global economy. Right? We've built companies to multiple 7 figures using a team of VAs that we've never even met face to face before. And they're some of the highest paid earners in their countries and their cities overseas, right? And so when you're able to really condense the way that the world works, thanks to the internet and everything alike, I think that's a beautiful thing. I don't really see much negative in it, other than amateur saturation. I think we face a ton of amateur saturation, However, I think the benefits will outweigh the cons tenfolds.
So I understand what you're saying because the new generation's only going to know what they know now. They
Right.
didn't know how we had to go to meetings face to face, go to the golf course and sit down with somebody for half an hour in a coffee shop. Now it's a quick Zoom meeting, send it on Instagram, send it here. How do you turn over now the business? Because a lot of it was straight face to face, the handshake. Now it's over Zoom, it's over this. You know, we need to tell our new generation what's there to strive for.
Yeah, I think I don't know exactly. I don't know if this answers your question exactly. However, I will give my dark horse superpower in business. It is showing up unapologetically, unequivocally myself. Right? I am exactly who you see here. Doesn't matter if we're sitting on a podcast, doesn't matter if we're out having a beer, doesn't matter where the environment is. I am exactly as you see it fit. And I think that's a fantastic crutch to have in business as a young entrepreneur, primarily because the overwhelming majority of your competition are going to be individuals faking it till they're making it, putting it out, putting on a facade, showing up as somebody one day and somebody else the next. And the reality is, what I have noticed, especially with the deal makers in the world, the people actually doing stuff, they'll see through it in 5 seconds. They'll see through it so quickly. And so I think, speaking as a young man in business, the sooner and the faster you can get to a place of your self-fulfillment, meaning knowing exactly who you are as an individual, the easier it becomes to show up as such.
That is on point because that's what I believe. I believe that people want to work with the true you. So whatever
Exactly.
you're like, you're gonna show the true you. They were like, "Hey, I do that too." You know, like you said, dogs or cats. You say, "Listen, I gotta have a dog," and the other person that you might listen to go like, "That's my kind of guy." Yeah, I got 3 dogs. Like the connection is there, but if you fake it because you want to say something you think people want to hear you say, you're not coming off the true you coming out. So 100% on that one. So tell everybody what you're doing right now. What's the business? What you got going on?
Yeah, so we build acquisition systems for commercial real estate funds as well as syndications. We also work with a couple of their high ticket coaching programs, and so my team goes out, builds out all their processes, onboards their sales team, fills it with traffic, runs it up to KPI, all of those components, and just builds really really well oiled acquisition systems. And we are using an acquisition model for ourselves and take equity into a lot of our partnerships. And so we get on board as a growth partner with a lot of these companies.
So let me ask you one thing. What do you see the one thing I don't want to say fail, but I don't want to say is hindering the company too. So like when you go out to see a lot of these companies, what's the one thing that doesn't merge with you because they don't have A, B, and C? Help the
It,
companies out right now. If they want to call you, what are they missing?
it's always. I mean, we only work with companies doing multiple seven figures, so that's first and foremost. But other than that, it's always like we have had to pull out of deals, and we have had to claw back our own equity to remove ourselves from our position, and it's always came down to culture and leadership. We've worked with 2 companies now who had far too many chiefs and not enough Indians, and all the chiefs were looking at one another cluelessly. So that did not end well. Um,
You know what it is?
y-
How do you determine who's a chief and who's an Indian in your business?
in my company,
No, in every company.
in
If you're
every
some
company, yeah,
Yeah, like
I,
so, everybody wants to be the big boss. Everybody wants to be the big cheese and go out here and go there. But something that you just said to me goes like sometimes you have to understand your role and sit back to make the company grow.
for sure,
Is
for
it
sure,
ego
yeah.
or is it ego or what is it? What do you think it is?
That's a fantastic question. I think in that specific instance, the owner removed himself from the company way too quickly and doesn't really have any idea of the actual processes in place, with his team, with his ops, all of those components, and put somebody in place who doesn't know either. And so it ultimately created this perpetual environment of the blind leading the blind, and that's a really ugly place to try and build a company in. Now, moreover, for me specifically, We hire quick, we fire quick. And we have this saying in our life, like even with my significant other, it's A team only. Right. And so if you don't meet the A team, there is no B team. Sorry. Go down the street. We don't need you. And so we hire and fire quickly on those premises.
There's only one BA Baracus on the A team. So
yeah,
jump on board now or jump off.
Yeah. Right. I mean, it's with anything in life. You're either adding value or you're subtracting it. Right. And stagnation is a level of subtraction.
So how do you know when to call it quits? How do you know when to call it quits with a company? Because that's, do you give them another chance? Do you work out with them? And how do you know a business deal, a business partner how long is too long?
I think if you take it to bed with you at night, and you start to lose sleep or it's creating anxiety, it's probably time. And so, yeah, I choose joy, I choose peace, I choose happiness over my team. And anytime any level of disrespect becomes into the equation, backhanded emails, disrespectful demeanor, things of those natures, when those come into place, you really need to start being perspicacious around, is this in alignment with where I'm trying to go? And if you have to think about that answer for more than 30 seconds, the answer is no.
Yeah, definitely. Use your gut instinct and go with it. All right. Before we let you go, my friend, one more. Let's go.
Now time for pick
3. It's now time for pick 3. Before we let you go, choose your last 3 questions before we let you get out of here. Give me 3 numbers between 1 and 10.
Go 3, 7, 9.
3, 7, 9. All right. If you can go back in time and tell your younger self what you know now, what's the thing you would tell your younger self?
Learn quicker from your mistakes.
Learn quicker from your mistakes. And what do you mean by that?
Every single failure, every single loss, every single mistake you ever made is a blessing in disguise put in front of you by God to teach you what to do better the next time. Pay attention.
Pay attention and don't I love that. And don't wallow in it. Oh, this didn't work. That didn't work. Okay, hold on. Slow down. Why didn't it not work? Sit down. Figure it out. What did you do wrong? Fix it for the next time. All right. Number 7, give us a book, a movie, a quote, or anything that you've seen that's really helped you in your business.
I don't know where the quote's from, but I think I'm making it my own, unless it's already been coined. You're never a product of your environment. You're always a product of your decisions.
There you go. Love it. All right. One last one. Here we go. And this is interesting that you picked this one. What is your hidden talent?
Anything with a motor. Anything with a motor. Dirt bikes, snowmobiles, built Corvettes. I love it all. I fix them. I tinker with them. I beat them up, wrench on them. It's my favorite. One of my favorite things in the world.
There you go. Listen, my friend, I appreciate you so much coming on our show. You gave me so much nuggets that I'm stealing them. I'm letting you know right now. I'm going to be putting them out on social media. I think the one that really got to me was relax. Your hidden gem's going to come. You just got to slow down. Don't be too hasty to get your gems. In the long run, it'll be there. You don't have to show off and showcase, but in the long run, it'll get there. So, my friend, it's been an honor and pleasure. Before we let you go, is there anybody you want to shout out to or say hi to? Go ahead. This is your opportunity.
Everyone listening on here, keep doing what you got to do. Stick true to yourself. You're going to spend some time in your life and your journey where people from your past project past labels onto you, and just understand that depending on where you want to go next has no indication of where you've been in the past.
All right. Thanks, buddy. It's been an honor. We'll see you next time.
Take care.